Welcome to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast, powered by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined, with your host, the one and only Betsy Tinnervin. On this podcast, we bring you people who share their personal journeys in life, business, and of course, real estate. Get motivated, inspired, and priceless information from entrepreneurs, community leaders, and realtors who are thriving. Now let's get raw and real. Here's Betsy.
Welcome to the LPT Realty Radio Show. I'm Betsy Tinnervin, and we have some exciting guests today. We have Julius, the architect, and his company is Julius, the Architect LLC. We're going to be talking with him about how he works with realtors and kind of what he does. I also have Angie Riviera. She is a wholesaler with Legacy Cash Offer. She's going to give us great insight on what wholesalers do and how they work with realtors. And I actually have a special guest today, the one and only Rich Gant, and he is an LPT realtor. And Rich, let's start off with you. How are you liking LPT and what's going on in the real estate market?
All right. Well, I'm loving LPT. It's the first brokerage I've ever been with that's like, okay, I understand why I am paying you all this money. Been a realtor for about 20 plus years. And the split is amazing. The tools are really what pulled me over here. To have the power tools that are available, it's kind of interesting. My slogan has always been using power tools with a personal touch. And now I get these just as part of the package. I'm thrilled to be here. I think the way the market is shifting right now, those tools will become more and more important as we enter into a little bit of a slowing market.
Awesome. I couldn't agree more. And also remember at LPT, we do have a 100% commission plan as well as the split plan. So I couldn't agree with you. I think LPT Realty has been great, and just what they're doing now for all realtors are in our community has been fabulous. So awesome to have you here, Rich. I'm glad that you're a part of the LPT family. And Julius, the architect, you want to tell us a little bit about what you do and what your business consists of?
Hey, Betsy, thank you very much for having me today. Well, I'm a licensed architect in the state of Florida, so I basically draw squares and rectangles for a living and get paid for it. But those are very important things to have, especially when you have code officials and all sorts of building codes to comply with that really nobody understands, but that's my job to sort of figure that out for you.
Awesome. So how exactly and what do you do when it comes to being an architect? Do you work with a lot of realtors?
I have, yes. I work with a lot of contractors more so, but with realtors, it's nice because I'm able to sort of provide a space plan of a future potential build for a house. I had a realtor friend who was having difficulty selling a house on the water. I threw a couple of space plans of potentials, and that's what sold the house for her.
That's awesome. I actually think it's cool to think outside the box. Obviously, you know, the market is shifting. It's not going to be as cutthroat. Hopefully, we'll see some more inventory come on the market. So as far as working with contractors, maybe talk a little bit more about the realtors that have maybe investor clients, like what type of services or any critical tips that you could give for realtors or investors or anybody that maybe doesn't even know what architects actually can do for you?
Yeah, I would suggest do not try to shortcut the system. The system is there with checks and balances. So if you think, well, you know, we could fix this up over the weekend and, you know, flip it. Yeah, then you get caught and then you're backpedaling and things are on hold. And the code officials don't normally like to, you know, have people doing unpermitted work. So then it's a scramble to try to find an architect to do some plans and then a contractor to, you know, get the work done. So in order to avoid that, do that at the front end. You know, it'll take a little bit of time, but it won't be as bad as it is when they catch you.
For sure. I think that what you guys do is super cool. I think that it's definitely creative and artsy. Is that okay to call you artsy, Julius?
Yes, that is perfectly fine. Call me artsy.
Okay. Yeah. So you definitely have a craft. And I want to kind of throw this over to Rich Gant here. Rich, have you ever worked with an architect doing real estate?
I've not accessed them probably as often as I should. I was a licensed contractor early in my career, so I interfaced a lot more then. But the main thing that we want people to know, even when you're not selling, it's important to ask your realtor, is this a worthwhile investment on my home? So to marry those two, having an architect and a realtor be able to tell you what's your return on investment, then to do a project, even if you're not selling it, it's worth it to have both on board.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Rich. I think that we play a role in that analysis piece, but I think then having the architect come into play and actually meet with that buyer or seller and say, hey, here's your options. Then just like you said, I didn't know you used to be a contractor. Why are you keeping secrets, Rich?
I'm not licensed in that lane anymore.
I caught him.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think I was the youngest licensed builder ever.
How old were you?
I was 20. You're supposed to have 4 years, but I did 2 summers just working as a grunt laborer. And so it was part of 4 calendar years. And I took the test, find out what was on it, and accidentally passed.
I think that you should be proud of that, man. And I think as a realtor, to have that past history background is super essential. What do you think, Julius?
I think that's fantastic, especially if you know how to swing a hammer. This is why I draw the things, because I don't hammer very well. I hammer my thumb very well. But, drawing things is much more my forte.
For sure. But I think that having those crafts, I know that it's important as a realtor, even when we're just doing the simple inspections, looking at electrical panels, checking out water heaters, doing those walkthroughs. But that's really cool that you started in the construction field and then kind of shifted to real estate. And I definitely think, Julius, from just your standpoint as an architect, how do you feel? Now, I know you're not a realtor, but how do you feel with what's going on in the market right now that it's going to affect maybe your business or how you could benefit even sellers in what you're doing just with this market shift that we all know that we are facing?
Well, given the fact that we do have a lot of older stock in condos and houses, especially down in the beaches areas, every new buyer wants to change what they're getting because they're getting something that was built in the 60s, 70s, and it looks 60s and 70s. And if you're not looking for the retro look, everybody wants to change it. So, find out, is this wall structural? Can I put a door here? There's a lot of questions and things that they want to happen, but they need a professional to come in and sort of assess it and say, yeah, you can take that wall, but it's going to have a beam to take its load. And, without having that, you start swinging a hammer and your wall falls down and your roof falls down, and then it's a big problem.
100%. And so what would you suggest if you were one of those homeowners in one of those areas that could potentially add something or add value? Like, what would you suggest their steps should be? Absolutely.
With your realtor, discuss it with them, and with the professional connections that all you good LPT folks have, then you have access to professionals who can give you those answers. And it doesn't have, not very expensive. It could even be just, one visit, look up in the attic and give a professional opinion. It's much better than not doing that and then just sort of proceeding and sort of finding out the hard way later on.
And Rich, do you have anything to comment on that, just as far as like what you think is going to happen with the shift and just what people could do to maybe add value or where it starts with a realtor?
Right. Well, where we're at, it is shifting. My phone has slowed, which I'm grateful for. It's nice to not have 15 to 20 offers when you've got a buyer. I no longer have to make Excel charts for the seller, but 4 or 5 offers on a home that's only been there 4 or 5 days is still a very healthy market. Long as they don't get crazy with the rates, we're just now beginning to return to normal rates. So I agree with Zillow, not on a whole lot of things, but on the market, they're still looking at 14 to 15% appreciation this year for most of the neighborhoods I'm selling.
I totally agree. We're going to wrap up a couple things in regards to the architect stuff and the real estate stuff because we have a special guest coming in after the break, which I'm not going to disclose. As far as like rates and stuff are concerned, the market is concerned, Julius or Rich, either one of you can kind of just jump in on how that affects your individual jobs. Do you want to kick it off, Julius?
Yeah, sure. Well, from my end, as long as people are buying, they are going to be doing some work, and that involves me because legally you're supposed to have a licensed design professional signing and sealing so that the front-end design stuff is done properly. And having a good relationship with realtors, with contractors is fantastic because then you get a job that's already a job. The contractor calls me up and says, hey, this client of mine needs drawings. So then we get to
So if someone would want to contact you, Julius, how would they get in touch with you?
Oh, well, you can email me at juliusthearchitect@gmail.com or call my wonderful assistant, Mark.
And what is Mark's phone number, Mr. Julius?
727-543-6061.
And Mr. Rich Gant, now that I know all your past life and secrets, if someone wants to contact you, how would they get a hold of you?
I answer by phone, 813-502-9360. That's 813-502-9360, or simply Rich Gant 4, the number, richgant4@gmail.com.
Well, I appreciate both of yours insight today. We have a special guest coming up. We're going to talk about an entirely different aspect of the market after this commercial break. Please do not forget to download the free iHeartRadio app, and we will see you after the break.
The best comp plans ever in stock and revenue share, but if we're not closing real estate transactions, all of that is worthless, because ultimately everything starts with a real estate transaction, which starts with a consumer. And so we wanted to arm our agents with the absolute best technology and best marketing tools to do more real estate. And that's, again, I think a big differentiator. I think very few brokerages really sit down and say, how do we provide tools to make sure that our agents can be more productive, sell more real estate, win more listings, win at more listing appointments, help more buyers find that home. And we're very focused on that. And so while we have the best comp plans and the best ways for agents to generate wealth and earn, we also have the best tools, and more importantly, I would say have the best tools to help you be successful in real estate.
Welcome back to the LPT Radio Show. I am Betsy Tinervin with LPT Realty, and I have some fabulous guests today. We heard from Rich Gant, our one and only LPT Realtor. He is the 4-county expert. He spoke a little bit earlier. We have the privilege of having Julius the Architect with Julius the Architect LLC with us. And now I actually have a personal friend and business associate who I love to death, Angie Riviera. And Riviera, correct, Angie? Yeah, correct me. Rivera. Yeah. See, she's too cool for school. She's too cool for me. Okay, and she is with Legacy Cash Offer, and Angie is actually a wholesaler. And I thought it'd be cool to have her on the show to speak with me and Rich, and then obviously kind of collaborate with Mr. Julius just about how wholesalers work with realtors and just kind of talk a little bit about what they do. So, Miss Angie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You want to tell us what a wholesaler is?
Yeah, essentially, we speak to homeowners who are in distressed situations. We offer them a solution, whether that be a cash offer. There's a bunch of different options, such as seller financing, things like that, depending on their situation. And then, once we come to an agreement, we go ahead and write up the contract, send its title, and get to closing.
Okay, perfect. Also, when it comes to wholesaling, what do you think the misconception is that people have?
I feel like people think wholesalers are bottom of the barrel. That's your entry point, and it's you're in the slums when you're a wholesaler. But I feel like for me personally, I want to wedge that gap, because I know there's a lot of wholesaling that goes around in the Central Florida market that can be kind of
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to wedge that gap to be as the anomaly of wholesalers.
So basically, I think what everyone does have a misconception on is that if someone is in a situation where they have to sell their house for cash and they need someone to be that person in the middle, kind of make that happen, what are some instances of people that are in that situation? Who would be a client for you?
People facing pre-foreclosure, people who have tenants who aren't paying, tired landlords, people who may just have inherited a property, and people that just want to sell and don't want to go through the whole process of listing and having showings and going through that whole thing. They just want to get it done.
And like I said, we were just talking about misconceptions. I know that you probably have a really great story of someone that you have actually really helped.
Yeah.
By doing what you do. Do you have a good story?
Yeah, I had a lady who was in foreclosure, and she had a date, and I pretty much went up to her, made her an offer, and she was able to walk away with a substantial amount of money. And even after we closed, I helped her in the process of finding another place to live. And we also gave her post occupancy, so she didn't have to move right away. And we were able to help her out.
That's awesome. I bet you also have some crazy stories.
Oh, yeah. I mean, We have
together.
Yeah.
We have together. Yeah. We definitely have. We have seen some crazy stuff. I think with the market shift, Rich, I don't know how you feel, but I think, and then you can let me know your thoughts and comments, that with this market shift, you're going to see people who were in forbearance. And now at some point, these payments are going to come due. And, we may see them with maybe investors that have over leveraged. We could see them with regular homeowners who got scared that they wouldn't have income during COVID. So they wanted to kind of, go into forbearance and not pay their mortgage payment. So now all these payments are going to come due. And if they don't have the financial means to do that, that's when definitely they would need someone to purchase their house fast and for cash. So as a realtor, how do you think we can leverage someone like Angie, who's a wholesaler, to collaborate with and do business with?
I work with several people that have a similar model. Most of these guys who advertise big on television and in your mail and elsewise will tell you, we'll buy your house for cash. They act like it's a big deal being an iBuyer. Wholesalers have done it all through the years. As a realtor, I always want a select number of wholesalers that I can walk into a listing and say, oh, you need to sell now and not even wait the weekend plus 30 days. Well, we can do that as well. And here's what it's going to look like if you use this wholesaler, if you use Angie or someone like that. Here's how that looks. And then obviously, if the market softens, I don't think it's going to soften that much. But if in fact it does soften to where, and the COVID thing, I think you're right. If it comes from anywhere, it's going to be the people who have been in forbearance, to be able to say to them, you don't have to give away your house. And I think that's really an important place for the market for you guys. It's sad to me. I had a guy a year ago, he had a $400,000 home, owed $285 on it, and was willing to let him take it in foreclosure. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And to be able to refer someone like that for an immediate close, they're thrilled. You've saved them money that they were going to walk away from.
And just so you know, Rich, I think that for realtors on the outside too, of course, we definitely want to send, Angie business and a wholesaler's business for people that we can assist. But what's really cool between Angie and I, and for all the other realtors out there, I'll definitely share her contact info. But what's been cool for us is we throw things back and forth. So if I do some type of listing or I do a presentation talking about retail pricing and they're not interested, I can kick that to her. She can also come to me and say, hey, I can't pay cash for this property. It doesn't fit in my model. Can you please contact this person and give them more of a retail presentation? Yeah. And so I think realtors that don't talk to the local guys, like the local wholesale guys like Angie, I think you're missing out on a stream of leads that are really great leads. And I also think that phases into another section with, and I want Angie to touch on this, is just how you bring leads to realtors that have investors, and you can collaborate with a realtor, Angie, on splitting some type of commission.
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to wholesaling and let's say we get a deal or we get a lead and it just doesn't work out for us, or if it does and we're like, hey, help us find an investor, we're not able to do it on our end, we'll add a percentage on top of that and make sure that it's added to the bottom line. So everyone is paid, everyone is happy, we're able to move forward and go on to the next one. So it's just building those relationships, building that trust for one, and then just being able to execute. Because then also I'm the face to the seller, I'm just coming to you and they don't even know who you are. So I'm like, hey, I got it taken care of. And if you can take care of me, I promise to take care of you.
And as far as working with those sellers, Angie, what is your tactic and sales tactics? I know that it's actually kind of cool, when you and I work together and we've been to properties before together, just to kind of see the difference in how we operate with sellers and just personality traits. What is your forte and motto and just your whole sales MO when you're dealing with sellers?
It's more so like a mom and pop approach. I'm not here hey, sell me your home. I'm going to be empathetic to what you're going through, and I'm going to understand, and I'm going to exhaust, if a cash offer doesn't work for you, I'm going to exhaust every single option that I can. And even then, throughout the entire process, I'll do my best to hold your hand through the whole thing, walk you through everything. If you have any questions, you can call or text me at any time and I'll make it work. That's kind of how I approach it. It's how would I want to be treated? if I was in this situation, or like, someone that I love, same thing. So that's how I approach it every time.
Mr. Julius.
Yes. Hello.
So I know that it would not probably be normal to have an architect and a wholesaler having a conversation, but as almost everyone in this room knows, is I'm a super big disruptor. So I like to disrupt things. So what do you want to ask Angie as far as wholesaling, or if you, in your line of work or the space that you kind of play in, I know that you don't really do a lot of that, but so that's kind of cool, because for anyone listening out there, maybe they have the same questions. So what do you want to ask Angie?
Well, first I just wanted to comment, and I really appreciate the way you described what the wholesaling is, that really you're there to help people, and you're making relationships. And as LPT Realty, and the relationships between contractors, sellers, agents, buyers agents, it's a whole team of people, and the better you are at those relationships, then the better your business will be, the better your professional life will be, the better your personal life will be, because you do make some good friends out there as you do all this marketing and connecting, but especially as you said, that you execute, right?
Yeah.
You make those relationships, but you also show up and you do the thing. And then you say, okay, that person's very reliable, and I'll use them again. For wholesaling, I really just thought wholesaling was, hey, we got this person in the corner, we'll just throw them a little bit of cash and get the place cheap.
Yeah.
But you described it in much, much better light, and that, hey, things happen to people in life, and we're here to help out.
Yeah.
So
Angie, if someone wanted to A, sell their house for cash, or B, they are a realtor and they want to collaborate with you, how do they get in touch with you?
You can call me or text me, 813-510-6541.
Can you say that one more time slow?
Call me or text me. No, I'm kidding. 813-510-6541. You can call me or text me at any time. Betsy calls me at like 11:30 at night, and we talk for an hour. So
don't forget, everyone, to download the iHeartRadio app, and we will be back after the break.
The biggest win, I think, with the dual path and having these two models is that now we become a brokerage for everyone. No matter where you are in your real estate career or what your goals are today, maybe today you're not interested in recruiting or having a team, but then one day you wake up and you are. Well, if you're at the wrong brokerage to do that, you're locked in. Where in our model, we're not holding anyone hostage. We're not tying anyone in. You can move between the different comp plans and have that success and really achieve whatever your definition of success is under one brokerage platform, being LPT.
Welcome to the LPT Realty Radio Show. We are back with our three amazing guests. Julius, the architect that has Julius, the Architect LLC. And Julius, you want to give your phone number out one more time?
yeah, again, that's email is juliusthearchitect@gmail.com. Phone number is 727-543-6061.
And Julius has given us some great insight on how realtors can collaborate with architects, as well as just what he can do for buyers and sellers that may need to reach out and try to add value to their properties. We also have Miss Angie, and say your last name, girl. Correct me now. Rivera. She's like so too cool for school. So Angie is with Legacy Cash Offer, and she is a local wholesaler in the Tampa Bay area. Miss Angie, can you give out your contact information one more time, please?
Yeah, my phone number is 813-510-6541, or you could email me at legacycashoffer@outlook.com.
Perfect. And we've also been talking to Angie about how realtors can exchange leads with a wholesaler back and forth. We're going to dive into a little bit more about wholesaling and questions and different things like that, because I know that's kind of a hot topic, and we want to make sure that all of our listeners are properly informed. And the one and only Rich Gant, who I now know his entire life story, as well as all of the listeners that pay attention to iHeartRadio, who is not only a licensed realtor with LPT, he is the 4-county expert and used to be a licensed general contractor, and actually became a licensed general contractor at the fabulous age of 20. Did I get that right, Rich?
You got that right. Yes.
Awesome. And Rich, if you could throw out your contact information one more time, if someone out there is listening and needs the advice of the one and only Rich Gant with LPT, could you give them your contact information?
Sure. The phone number is 813-502-9360. That's 813-502-9360. And then the email is richgant4@gmail.com. Like to help anybody I can with that.
Perfect. Thank you, Rich. We appreciate that. So the last thing we kind of left off with before the first segment ended was we had Mr. Julius, who again is an architect who doesn't really work with wholesalers. I thought it'd be interesting to have him ask Angie with Legacy Cash Offer a couple questions, because I'm assuming a lot of the listeners out there have questions in regards to that. And you brought up relationships, Mr. Julius.
Yes, I did. So
I catch you off guard?
So no, but I was ready with the question for Angie. So I'm still sort of getting to understand what the wholesaling industry is and how it works. But I was wondering if you could describe sort of your ideal case where your wholesale business comes into play, and then the professional relationships that are involved with getting it to successful completion.
Yeah, so pretty much it's just anyone who's looking to sell immediately, whatever situation that they may be in, and they're looking for something quick, cash, they don't want to wait on it. And I guess that's on the consumer side. On the professional side, it's more so building the relationships with the investors and even developers, whatever vision they have for that particular property. And then just maintaining that open line of communication, having a great title company, and just seeing it through to the end. So it's pretty straight what it is.
Yeah, and I actually can speak about a particular transaction that I actually just did with Angie. I have a partner, Stacy Conti.
Stacy.
Yes, shout out to the Stace. She is actually all over Facebook, and she is the short-term rental expert. But her and I do some developments together, and so being in real estate and being with LPT, it's opened up my kind of pipeline of buyers. And so, Julius, a simple situation that I could kind of walk you through, or anyone else who also is a realtor that maybe wants this information, or someone that just wants to work with a wholesaler, is Angie brought me a deal in Tampa, 8 units.
Yep.
And we actually worked out with her a way to go ahead and close on that property. And Stacey and myself have quite a few other projects going on with Sugar and Spice Developments. So then we decided to put the property back on the market after doing minor things. And just to throw out some numbers, because we can be transparent, right, Angie?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. So what did you pay for the property?
So I ended up actually getting a price reduction after our initial. So I got it initially for $750, and then I ended up getting a price reduction like right before closing because of that drainage by the front property with all the stuff coming up.
Yes.
So I ended up getting it for $725, and then I sold it to you guys for $775. I think $770. Yeah, $770.
Because I got you for $5,000.
You did. So I sold it to you.
I said, hey, you got to give me that $5,000 off.
Yeah. So sold it to you for $770, and then we had to work some things out. And then another thing, just to put it out there, like with building relationships, is also being able to learn from investors and, realtors too, because there might be things that I don't know that they're better off doing. And sometimes they guide me in the right direction, so that way I can have more of a seamless transaction for all parties involved. So shout out to Betsy. She helped me a lot on that one too.
So you got it for $725.
Yeah.
Sold it to me for $770. I did not do a lot to the property. Our strategy was going to be to put $150 in it, which, Julius, then I would have called you and your lovely significant other, Brenda. We called both of you. And we were going to actually put $150 in it, decided not to. So we put the property back out at $949, and we are about to sell it for $935.
Woo!
Whoa.
Let's go.
There you go.
So throughout that process, though, we did a couple things, Angie and myself. This property was 100% occupied in Tampa. So we worked with a lot of tenants. This person had owned quite a big portfolio, and so they had their son managing it. Management was not good. Tenants were not being taken care of. So in that interim time where we had it, Angie and I went through and made sure everyone had proper lease documentation. We went through and did estoppels. We did all of these things, but I'm glad that we brought up this deal, because now I can wrap in Rich in this conversation. We had another transaction, Angie.
Which one?
Remember where we had double contracts?
Oh my God, yeah. We had 2 contracts. This was all on me. So this is a learning step for me.
Yeah, but I wanted Rich to comment on this, on how I want you and kind of Rich to play off of each other, because this is where a realtor came into play.
Yeah.
And so kind of tell Rich what happened, and he can kind of like assist and kind of throw in his thoughts.
Oh man, where do I start? No, I'm kidding. So pretty much I had a property under contract with the same seller that I sold the 8-unit to Betsy. And it was a 5-unit. I was short on time and I got like super desperate, and someone said yes. And then I ended up connecting with Betsy and Stacy. And this is the first time I met them. Betsy's spicy. That was the first time Betsy was very spicy. But pretty much I ended up getting 2 contracts. Neither deposited EMD, and I was like freaking out. So then one person finally deposited EMD, and then I called Betsy and I was like, hey, yeah, we're going to have to cancel this. And then she calls me like 2 minutes later. She's like, it's effective. I deposited EMD. And I'm like, oh my God. So now I have 2 active contracts. And so it got to the point where I was like, I have to cancel, or we're going to go into like this huge, legal battle. And then Betsy and Stacy were like super understanding, and, they understood that I made a mistake, and it was a learning curve for me. But yeah, it was a scary situation.
And so Rich, just being a licensed realtor, what do you want to say in regards to like contracts and documents, and really about the back end process that most people don't understand?
Well, that happens more frequently than many people would imagine. We're fortunate we live in a time stamp era where we can see, well, who actually did what first. And when we know, okay, well, we legally sold it to this person first, at that point, we have to help people learn to step back. The timestamps on everything helps a whole lot, that you're rigorous in record keeping. And of course, if you got a great title company, they'll help with that. And then, of course, we're blessed with lawyers that we can turn to as well. Most of the time, if you're dealing with any kind of a reasonable person, if you show them the timestamps, we can get through such litigation without actually litigating it.
But it is very important, correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, to have a realtor that has that type of knowledge.
Absolutely.
So I think that it's important that everybody out there know, when you're dealing with any experts in the field, that yes, you can meet great people and build great relationships, but it is critical that you work with people that are truly experts in their field. For instance, Rich Gant, who has how many years in the business, Rich?
Over 20.
Over 20, yeah. So he's an expert now. And then also Miss Angie, who has a great wholesale company. And Rich, if someone wanted to get in contact with you for real estate needs, could you give them your phone number?
Sure. It's 813-502-9360.
Perfect. And Angie, could you give them the Legacy Cash Offer phone number as well?
Yeah, it's 813-510-6541. You can call or text at any time.
We are going to go to commercial break, but please download the free iHeartRadio app at your convenience. Welcome back to the LPT Realty All-Star Radio Show. We have had some fabulous guests here today. Again, Mr. Julius the Architect. His company's name is Julius the Architect LLC. We are so happy that he's been here to give his insight. Miss Angie
Rivera,
who is definitely too cool for school. She is with Legacy Cash Offer, and she's a wholesaler. She has talked to us about quite a few amazing things today that I think have been misconstrued for all the listeners out there. And I think that she's educated ourselves a little bit on how she can help buyers and sellers and investors, as well as collaborate with realtors in our market today. And the one and only, the 4-county expert, Mr. Rich Gant, who I am definitely just going to keep putting all of your information out there, Mr. Rich, because I find it very cool that you've been in the industry 20 years, all the things you've accomplished in your career, as well as also knowing your construction background. So right now, we are going to wrap up our show today, just kind of discussing the elephant in the room that everyone wants to talk about, which is what's going to happen in the real estate market. And I know that with everybody kind of dealing with feeling all the pain points that we all have to feel in society today, with gas prices rising, the cost of electricity going up, people just kind of really going to this minimalist way of living, because as entrepreneurs, we all three sitting here do not get a W-2 paycheck. No. And so we have to rely on our own kind of hustle and our own relationships that we've built in all of our careers to feed our families. Let's talk about what we think is going to happen with the world, the market, just anything that you guys want to throw out there and give great information and insight to all of our listeners. We will start with Miss Angie.
No, I'm kidding. No, I think the market is definitely going to shift. I feel like we're already seeing it. I mean, I know you guys have seen it yourself personally, but I feel like it's still a matter of the sellers becoming a little bit more educated of how the market is shifting, which gives me a better place to stand on with them, because they're not at these super astronomical numbers, but also it's kind of a scary situation for them too, because they purchase properties at such a low interest rate before, and then now with interest rates going up, the banks are like, hey, if you ever need refinance or anything like that, you're kind of out of luck. That grace period has ended. So it's just a matter of just making sure that they're educated, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens.
Rich, I think that it's cool that Angie is always willing to speak with other real estate agents, so she knows, just like I loved what she just said about she wants to know how to speak to a seller about what could potentially happen. So if someone came to you today, said, Rich, I want to list my house today, what would you say to them? What would your strategy be? And what do you think could potentially happen even in the next 30 days that the property was on the market?
Very good. First, I'd step back one from that they're likely to say, can I sell my house today?
Okay, you got me.
I don't want zero house. The bank's going to laugh at me if I try to buy two houses, the one I'm in, the one I want to go to. And that's really what's caused our problem from COVID on. They talk about low inventory. Well, we have the same number of houses as we had prior to COVID. What's caused it? Well, people in that catch-22. What do I do next? Well, having a wholesaler or having a plan, how to address that is, I think, the biggest question. And I just try to counsel them, where are you and where do you want to be? And there's different steps based on who that particular seller is. But there is an answer. They just don't know what are the possibilities. There's usually 4 or 5 answers, and which of these works best for you as a seller?
I think that people that are good salespeople, and I think people that provide a solution are people that win, even as entrepreneurs in general. But I think that realtors and even wholesalers that listen to what people say, I always like to repeat to my clients, Angie, what I hear you saying is blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I think when you're dealing with buyers and sellers right now, it's what is our end game? What is our goal? How can I get you there? And so if that is, let's find somebody like Angie that can pay you cash for your house, potentially not have you go into foreclosure, not have that on your record. Or do I consult with someone like Rich and say, Rich, we have a seller here that really could get top dollar for their property and has 150 grand in equity. Can we put them in a rental for 6 months and see if we can calm the interest rates down a little bit? There's options. And then we bring in Mr. Julius.
Yes, hello again.
Who is going to disrupt the whole game. So you're kind of an outsider looking in, right? Because what you do is, again, we play with numbers and what is it? What were those blocks when we were little?
Like Lincoln Logs?
Lincoln Logs. That's what I think about when I think about an architect is, hey, where are my Lincoln Logs? So yes, so you're an outsider looking in because you don't really deal with buyers and sellers that have to do with the market. They either want to expand and add value or not, or we call you and we have crazy situations where we don't want to get in trouble and we want you to save us, which has been me. So what do you think, from just an outsider out there with everything going on in the world, what do you think about the real estate market and just what's happening in the world in general with all of these skyrocketing prices and just how we're all living today in society?
Yeah, very much on that line. Lately, I've had a number of clients who have just contracted me for schematic design, meaning, basic floor plans and sort of general elevations of, say, a master suite expansion or addition to a home. But before going on with a full-blown permit set, the construction document set, we sort of stop at the floor plan and elevations. So that gets shipped off to any number of contractors, general contractors, to sort of put a ballpark figure on the project. And then they'll know for sure if they're going to continue and proceed with or without it. But normally, previous to this current market, it was pretty much a go. This is what we're doing, and we just want our permit drawings. But now some people are just saying, well, we've heard that trusses take forever to get, windows are impossible. This is the supply that's out there.
What is the cost of wood now?
And they also ask me that too. And I said, I don't build the stuff, I draw the pictures. I could tell you what the paper costs, but I can't tell you what a wood stud costs. So I do get a lot of questions about pricing, and I always have to defer to a contractor. Again, those relationships, saying, I'll draw it, and I have a number of contractors that we work with, and if you're willing to use any of these, then when you pass it off to them and you get some numbers and begin a relationship that way.
So you've seen people basically take a step back, reevaluate, go, where am I going to put my money? What am I going to invest in? And the truth is, I think Rich brought up something really good earlier. If you are expanding or adding things to your home, most people's personal homes are not investments. They are customizable to their needs and what they want. They're actually most of the time more of liability than an asset. Yeah. So when it does I heard you talk about master suite. I mean, now, Julius, I sold my house. So when I do buy a new one, you're going to be laying out this master suite that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Here. Okay. So when now you're talking to these people about these master suites, they're really thinking to themselves, like, okay, do I allocate funds over here? How long is my project going to take? Are my trusses going to be on back order? And let's say they cost $5 now. Are they going to be $15 by the time they get here?
And that's, again, tying into the relationships and good, solid relationships where people execute and get the things done. So it's good to have a number of those people on your speed dial to reach out to as a resource and to help get the job done. Like you said, what's the way to get to what you need? You say, well, we need to get some numbers. Okay, here's a contractor, and I'll do my part, they'll do their part. And I know they're going to do a fantastic job. So a lot of times you got to do that homework ahead of time.
I definitely think that having experts in each avenue of people that you work with allows you to be an expert in your field and then lets everyone else do their job. Yeah. So I think what's cool about all three of you on this show is that you all are truly an expert. Rich has over 20 years experience in real estate and then also dealing with some contracting, construction knowledge. Angie, you clearly have established a name for yourself in the Tampa Bay area with Legacy Cash Offer, working with realtors, working with contractors, working with investors, actually helping homeowners and investors that maybe have issues with their property in our area. Yeah. And then, Julius, you have relationships with tons of people in this community, and you are there to assist people from just a buyer and seller avenue all the way up to general contractors, all the way up to big time investors and developers. So everyone here has built a relationship base in this community. None of you knew that I was going to put together this type of collaboration.
No.
Ooh, great job. Fantastic work.
It's just like throwing a bunch of stuff in a pot on Sunday, like all the leftovers and mixing it up. And then it turns out fabulous. So one more time, let's go around the room, give everyone your contact information. I think phone numbers are best. So Mr. Rich Gant, let's start with you.
Sure. Call or text 813-502-9360.
And Miss Angie.
Yeah. You can call me or text me at 813-510-6541.
Mr. Julius.
And Julius the Architect, 727-543-6061.
Well, I appreciate everybody on the show today. Thank you for your insight and your time. I know your time is valuable. Everyone out there, please listen on the free iHeartRadio app. You can download any of the shows, listen while you're at the gym and the shower. And once again, thank you for tuning in to the LPT Realty Radio Show.
Thanks for listening to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast, powered by LPT Realty, Real Estate Reimagined. We hope this episode motivated and inspired you. And don't forget to rate and review us. Thanks again for listening to the Raw and Real of Real Estate podcast with Betsy Tinnervin.